All right, welcome back to my channel, and this video is about Humboldt proposal for Humboldt Fellowship. And sorry about the delay. I have been busy in other assignments, so finally I got the time to make a dedicated video on Alexander von Humboldt postdoctoral fellowship proposal writing. So the rules or guidelines which I will specify are applicable to all kinds of proposal writing basically, but we will particularly focus on the structure and some specific specific rules or guidelines for writing a strong Humboldt fellowship. I will also show you how I wrote my Humboldt fellowship proposal back in 2021, 2022. So still the rules are the same. So I will show how I made it. Maybe it would not be perfect, but we will see. So the first thing is that this is for all proposal that you will write. Like, you should have a strong idea in your field. So how to measure if your idea is strong or not in your field? So the first thing is when you have done your PhD or you're the final year of your PhD, this should not be too hard for you. So if you're following the leading people or the researchers in your field, so then you know what is the hot direction or the field in your particular subject, and then what kind of idea could be really attractive for funding agencies, and how basically you can relate it to big challenges, either challenges in the society or challenges in the technology. So then you should have a strong idea. So basically this is the requirement for all proposals. So next thing is how do you design it then? So when you are writing a proposal, particularly the Humboldt proposal, you are limited by the space. So for Humboldt proposal, it's clear guideline that is 5 pages. It's including references. So you have to finish everything within 5 pages. For example, with that limited space, how you can introduce your idea, that's the very important thing. And mostly people struggle here. So one thing is you should have a broad reading, a lot of reading in your area of interest, in your idea. And then you should be very precise or able to make clear background of your proposal. So first heading, if I would give to my proposal, would be the background heading. After the title, you should write the background. And then how long the background should be. If you really know your area, then it should not be more than 2 to 3 sentences. So basically you introduce a big picture in the field, and then what you do is you state the problem, and then maybe in 1 to 2 sentences current challenge or problem, and then how would you solve that problem, or what is your plan. So don't give here like very specific, but in general how you will give. So this background should be 5 to 6 sentences, not more than that. And so once you have introduced that background, very important thing is that you should have a schematic figure. So this figure is your more like introductory figure or big picture figure. So that's the most important in your proposal. If someone is not willing to read all the text written on your proposal, so they should get a clear idea that how this within a few seconds or within 1 minute they should be able to get what you're going to write or what you're going to say in your proposal. So you can maybe write current problem or challenges, one section of that figure. The second section could be how you are going to tackle them or solve them. And then the third part of that figure could be like impact. So what impact would they have on the society or in the field? Again, it's in the big picture, not tiny details here, just in a schematic diagram. So if someone want to get an idea quickly, so they should be able to do that. All right, so after the background, you should have an introductory figure. So this figure could be like in like full page, or it could be like some half page figure. So it depends like how you refine your but it should not occupy too much space. All right, so after the figure, so after the figure, what you can do is you can add the state of the art in your area. So again, you can make a nice small like schematic figure here, or you can just state it in 2 to 3 sentences. Like this is right now for this challenge. This is what people are trying to do, and this is the state of the art. And then right after that, you state that the current problem or the knowledge gap. So after the people have been trying, but this is still something that is missing, and nobody had tried it, or nobody have given such kind of proposed research. So this is the area that I want to fill in. So basically, up to here, you should be able to state that maybe in few sentences, like why you can do it. So why right now it's important, and also why your host. So maybe in each one sentence each, you can relate for yourself, like your previous PhD training or research experience that can help you to achieve these goals. Or similarly, you can say that why it's timely now, because it related to the challenges in the society or the technology. And also then you can relate it to the host. So next thing, you can change, maybe you can bring this after the objectives or before. So next is the objectives. So objectives are very, very important. That's what they are gonna read. They must read these lines, and you should have 2 to 3 objectives. Very simple, not stating them too in a difficult language that's hard to understand. And also these objectives you should do in a way that these are measurable, verifiable. So for example, if you're doing some kind of device, making a device, or proposing to make a device, and about the efficiency of that device, so you can state that these are the current limits, so the solution that I'm proposing, so how I will do it, but this will increase the efficiency, for example, 50%, 70%. So this is measurable. Similarly, for the people who make material, for example, for me, making molecular materials, I would say that I would make these molecules, and then these are verifiable, whether you are successful or not, whether you can make them or not. And then if I talk about their properties, so again, those properties should be verifiable, measurable. So always the objectives that you state should follow these lines. And another thing about the objectives is like don't make them too complicated. Don't add, sometimes people mix their methodology inside the objective, that make them difficult to understand. So in very clear 1 or 2 sentences each objective, with the headlines like objective 1, 2, 3, you can make certain sketches or molecular diagrams or something in front of each objective. That should be totally fine. But they should not be too much text about those objectives. So then you can maybe say the first part that I told you, why you, or how you will, you think you can achieve it, why it's the time right now to do it, and how your host can support you, or would be the best place to do these things. All right. So then we go to the methodology. So methodology is the most important in the Humboldt proposal. You can think in a way that Humboldt loves to see a strong science. So they're equally interested in you, in your career growth. But when we want to compare from, for example, the Marie Curie Fellowship, that's most focused on science along with your personal development as a researcher. So about how you will the dissemination of the results, the impacts, like these kind of things, they are equally important. But in Humboldt Fellowship, the science is the most important, like what you are going to do, how strong it is, what you're claiming, your claims, are they scientifically sound, or how your idea is novel, or how it is high impact, high risk things. So these kind of challenging things are liked by Humboldt review committees, or sometimes basically a strong science, a strong idea, challenging science is loved by the Humboldt. So propose something, but still you need to be within your limits of like the feasibility. If you propose something like which is extremely challenging and nobody can do it, so there should be this kind of balance between this. But generally speaking, Humboldt likes a strong science as compared to other fellowships. So how they know the science is strong comes from your methodology. So methodology in Humboldt proposal is the core of your proposal. So if I talk about the page limits or where you should start, so your methodology should be like when you're going to start it, it should be like second page, maybe in the middle of the second page, or at least at the beginning of the third page should start with your methodology. So don't write too much background or other things or objectives. So save some space for the methodology, because it's going to take a lot of space. So for people in science, it's easy to understand that what the methodology means. For example, for me, as a synthetic chemist, my methodology was how I will make the molecules. I presented the schemes. I will show in the later part of this video like how I did it. So the schemes of the molecule that I'm proposing, and then the second part of the methodology was how I will investigate their properties, or what kind of instruments I will use, and what kind of collaborations I will do. And so all these things comes there. And then after methodology, I think you should talk about the impact. So the impact is very important. Again, this impact could be impact of your research on society, on the science, and on the technology or industry. But equally important is the impact on yourself, on your career. So this is very important. You should state it in your proposal. So when you're done with methodology, I think 2 pages should be sufficient for the methodology part. And then maybe the last page you can start with the impact, or maybe if you have space, like maybe the 4th page, you can tell about the impact of your proposed research. So also very important in the Humboldt, when you're writing about the impact, is your long-term goals, like your career growth. So you can write in a way like Humboldt. So it's very popular phrase in Humboldt: once a Humboldtian, always a Humboldtian. So Humboldt gives you lifelong connections. Even you go back to your country, you can always come after every 3 years for 3 months. And also it gives you support in terms of funding for equipment or other networking things. So not just in Germany, but when you go back to your home country, they still support you. So in this way, you can tell that Humboldt will give you lifelong connection with German research institutions, with German researchers. And also you can tell Germans that basically Humboldt will give you an sorry. So you can tell Humboldt that in your proposal like impact, so you will have lifelong connections, but also you will learn about German research culture. So this may not sound very familiar to you, but it's slightly different, the German research culture, than other countries' research. So this is something that you should admire, and you can tell in your proposal. And also yeah, from so Humboldt gives you a lot of networking and some networking meetings, and also annual tour, and so all those things you can mention, but very briefly, like and there will give have impact on you. And also Humboldt, if you can write, like I'm not sure, but they also want to see if Humboldtian want to stay longer here, and their journey is towards as a faculty member in Germany. That maybe if you are willing to, you can also maybe write a short sentence on that. So this is about the impact, but after the impact, I think you should also write something like about the resources, the infrastructure. It's also very important. So maybe briefly in few sentences at the end of your proposal, you can write that where these resources will be, whether your host has, whether they have collaborations, or where do you will do all this work. So it looks like you have done thorough research, and this plan is feasible. And at the end is the references. So also again, references should not be longer. So I will talk about them when I show my proposal. So these are all, and I will talk about the technical things when I'm going to show in the next part about my proposal and how I wrote at that time. All right, so before I talk about how I wrote the Humboldt Fellowship proposal, so the technical details of Humboldt proposal I would like you to share. So first thing is, so this is a 5 pages proposal. So these 5 pages are not very long. So you're limited by space, and this also includes the references. So everything you have to sum up is within these 5 pages. And then you can play a little bit with the margins of that Word file, like you can squeeze or expand your margin width, length, and the top and bottom, but don't do it too much so it look like you're occupying more space. And also yeah, include figures. So 2 to 3 figures should be ideal for your proposal, but introductory figure is a must. Even there is no figure, just make a flow chart so it's easy to follow with as little amount of text as possible. For some field, for example, you don't have any kind of figure, but still you can make a flow chart, so that's easy to follow. All right, so then you should use titles, subheading in your proposal. So talking about the title, for example, what I had in my Humboldt proposal is controlled synthesis of concealed non-Kekule graphenoids as quantum units. So your title should not be longer than 1 line. So ideally a shorter and crispy and very clear message should be conveyed from the title. What I did, I wrote my name under this title. When I wrote my proposal, first thing I would like to make clear that I did not had any specimen or any sample either from my lab where I was doing PhD or my host lab. So I looked up in the literature, internet, Google, everywhere, and could not find much information. So this is how I wrote. But if I will do it again here, I would certainly improve my proposal. So For example, if I put my name here, so I would not put under this title. I would rather use a header where I can put a name, maybe just not full name, maybe just my last name, and also maybe short abbreviation of my title on one side and other side my name. Okay, so next thing is the background. So I wrote number one is the background, but you can see from here I would not read all of it for you, but this is basically all my background. So if I would write this this time, I would do it in a much better way. So for example, first sentence is a big picture, then I state another big picture, I think this is unnecessary. So after the big picture, I should state what is the problem now, maybe what this was like, what is going on to solve this problem, and then my thing that I will use a material, they're much better, or could give due to certain reasons. So in maybe 4 to 5 sentences, so I would sum up these two paragraphs into one short paragraph to make the background, and then I would go to the state of the art and all these things. But I did not know that at that point, so I give a lot of. So I put a figure here, and this is an introductory figure what I'm going to make, but this is more about the science. So if I would draw a figure now, it would be much better. So as I told before, that I would do is a current challenge problem in a figure scheme, and then what I propose and what impact it will have, like 3 parts, A, B, C parts of the figure. But this is just what I'm going to do. Why they are cool in this figure, I did this thing. So again, because I had no idea. I was in 4th year of my PhD, end of 4th year. When I started writing my proposal, I think after 1 year I graduated. So I did not had experience of writing during my PhD, any proposal or things. So this was my first experience. So I was learning as I was doing it. So, but now as I look back, I think there are many things that I can improve in my proposal. So I would tell you side by side. Again, this is about the molecule that I am going to make. So two kind of obvious non-Kekul and concealed non-Kekul, so why they are unique. So this also relates more like to introduction, not the problem statement or any objectives. Still, I finish one page and I did not mention what are my objectives. So again, my objectives started on the second page. So they should I would say like they should start in the beginning of the first page or end of second the beginning of the second page or the end of the first page, your objective should come. And these are my objectives. Like objective 1 is synthesis of this molecule Clark's goblet in the solution, and then the second objective was helical C and K concealed non-Kekul molecules. Again, there is a lot of text. I would avoid putting too much text, and making this like in 1 to 2 sentences each objective and crystal clear. And then objective third, so then is a scientific significance. I think this is fine to put scientific significance here, but if I would do this again, maybe this scientific significance I would put like in the objective 1, the second sentence should be scientific significance of objective 1, and then the second, and I would merge this section into the objective section. That would look much better, because right after the objective you tell that why this is so cool or why it's significant. Then there is one thing missing that you should really put here, like the feasibility of the project, feasibility of the proposed research. So I did not had it here. So I would say after the objective, this should be your heading, like how this is feasible, how your experience, your PhD training will be useful to achieve these objectives or goals. And similarly, how your host lab is the suitable place to do this research, why this research is very important right now. So these kind of 3-4 sentences you should tell in this feasibility section of your proposal, because what the objectives are ambitious, but whether they're feasible or not, you should do it here. So related to the feasibility, then comes the methodology or the approach that you will adopt. So for Humboldt, this is the most important. For example, for me, this is coming and at the third page, almost in the middle, but I would say this should come right in the beginning of the third page or end of the second page, because this can take a lot of space depending on your field of research. But I would put a lot of emphasis on the proposed methodology, because this is the core of your research. And Humboldt reviewers want to see what kind of science you are going to do here, how ambitious it is, how sound it is. So this should be technically, scientifically very sound approach. You should do a lot of literature research. So most of criticism can come here. First can come about your objective, whether they are ambitious or not, your idea. The second thing, how you achieve it. So this is very important for Humboldt. And so for example, what I was doing, I was synthetic chemist, so I gave proposed synthetic scheme for each type of molecule that I was going to make, and I had to do a lot of literature research to draw out those synthetic schemes, so there should be no flaw. They can point out, oh, the final target looks cool, but the way you are trying to make it, it does not sound well, or maybe is not scientifically correct, and there could be some flaws. So this you should pay a lot of attention to. And again, synthetic schemes for me for all these 3 objectives. So now I'm at the last page, where I wrote structural and magnetic characterization of the molecule. I think this subheading is a little bit boring. You can say investigation of their properties, or what you're going to see in those material molecules, how you will check. So basically all the instrumentation that I will use, I wrote. So this is a long, again, not a perfect way, long text, boring, big paragraph. So please avoid these kind of mistakes. So I was lucky I got it. I think my idea was ambitious. My science or methodology section was very sound, so I was lucky I got it. But if I would look back now, so this is not good really, like having a big long text paragraph. Nobody likes to read it. And then the last is relevant resources. So I would say place an impact section after this structural, like this investigation of properties. So this is still the methodology section. And then maybe it should end somewhere in the middle of the last page or before it. Then the impact section, where I told you, like impact on your field, science, society, and then impact on you and lifelong connections, and learning more about German research, or whether you want to do long-term stay here and become a faculty member or something. So you should set that in the impact section. And the last thing is the resources or infrastructure and any collaboration. So tell that these things which I mentioned, the techniques I will use, instrumentation I will use, these are available in the institute, in the research group, or if they are not available, I will collaborate, and whether I will develop new collaborations or whether I will build on the already established collaborations, like these kind of things. And then the last thing is the references. So I put like 19 references. So I added like them in 2-column form, so this saves some space. And also the references, you can see that I did not mention all authors or the title of the paper, just the first author and the title, and the year and the volume and the pages. So again, these references are too much. I would say don't add more than 10 references. Ideally 6 to 8 references should be sufficient for Humboldt proposal, and write them as short as you can, because they are useless. Nobody reads them, so don't give it a look like a literature review. For 19 references, I think I would say these are too much. And the font I use for the references is 9. So you can change the font here, but overall the font that I use in my proposal was 11, including the headings and subheading everywhere. It was 11. So one thing I would say, the spacing, I used spacing between the lines as 1, but between the paragraphs, I think now I look and it feels like this spacing is too much. So this is about 8 points. I would reduce it to 4 points. So this will also save some space. About the margins that I used for my Humboldt proposal, you can see there's not much space in the bottom and also on the top. So basically it is a 1.27 top and bottom and 1.55 I think left and right. So I would say to not go that much, don't stretch it too much. I think somewhere like 1.7, 1.8 top, bottom and sides. Don't go less than that. This is my advice. I used it, I got the fellowship, but if I would do it again, I would not take too much space. So I told you how you can save space, don't add too many references, and also the spacing is also important, and not very long paragraphs, so nobody likes them. So this is overall the structure of my proposal. I hope it makes some sense for you when you are writing, and it helps you in writing your Humboldt proposal. And again, I'm sorry for the delay, but yeah, you're welcome to ask any questions. So I have been receiving some question about the eligibility of Humboldt Fellowship, whether my profile is strong enough or not. So I will make another video like how you should look at your profile and how you can, so nobody has a perfect profile when they have done their PhD or almost doing PhD. So I will make a separate video like how you can improve some areas and how you can connect that to look like a good profile. All right, so hope it helps you, and I wish you good luck for your Humboldt Fellowship proposal writing. I would be happy to answer any questions or any confusion. Please write, and I would try to reply as soon as possible. Thank you.